All right, good morning, everybody. This was a artist who tweeted this at me. They colored this page, and I wanted to give some quick tips just on one figure. They have 3 or 4 pages, and I'll do a longer video later. I've got a big coloring one coming up with the help of Felix's video guy, Yams. Is going to help me shoot one to really talk about it. So I wanted to show you guys some basic things that I do when it comes to figures and how I light things. I think this artist is doing a really good job here of being subtle, but like the last artist on the 4-page sequential, I think it's all too safe. And the good news is too safe is really, really good. Because a lot of people get way too gaudy, way too dense, way too gross, and it starts taking away from the line art. Here, I think we can accent the line art more and create a little more depth. And I'll show you how I generally will do that. The first thing I'm going to do is create a layer for myself here. I'm just going to write Nick's layer here. And we'll go to the line layer. I will not select any of the lines. I will select an empty space that's not lined. Then I'll go over here, and I'll show you a basic thing that I like to do here. We'll go over here. We'll go after the original art. So select, deselect. We'll move Nick's up to here. That's the OA, the original art. Looks like he doubled down on that. So I will click on that, the opposite space, and that means it's just going to let me color here. The one thing I would say first is what I always do is I like to think about this as in 3 different planes. So like this here needs to pop out more. This needs to go back. This is about the same plane as this. So what I do is I fall back on my drawing skills, and I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to pay attention to the form by highlighting it with more highlights and more lowlights, basically 3 to 4 tone cell shading. And I'm also going to think about the value of things coming forward. So I'm going to try to make this lighter, this a little bit lighter, maybe a little light here, and add some darkness here. When I think about form, I can see that this thing is lit from right to left, and it looks like the artist has kind of done that here. But there is another thing where there's a cast shadow coming down too. And I think stuff like with these shoulders and stuff going down, they actually make a cast shadow over these lines here. And the big thing here is to treat this whole thing as one big shape, not individual shapes. And I'll show you what I mean by that. The first thing I'll do is I'm going to pick a darker green. We'll go about there. And I'm going to make a darker low light for pretty much everything. And we'll go in here and do this on, and what I'm doing here is I'm thinking about the cast shadow that's going to be coming down from his body coming out over this way now. It might not be all that far here. I might take this here and back these off here. So I don't know if that would make it all the way over. You can do little things like this and cut into these muscles a little bit if you'd like. And what I'm going to do is you're going to see me just model this up, and I'm going to think about a highlight too on the outside as well. And this will just add a little more form to the whole guy. And when I pick a very, very bright highlight, I only do about 10% of the whole shape, you know, so maybe here, maybe here. But what I can do now, since I have these different values, is I can go in here and like add a little highlight here, which will help separate him from the background a little more. And you'll see when I cut it on and off of my layer. And I'm thinking about how the, a little light always hit from the top, a little light over here, little cheekbone here, maybe a touch on the nose to accent that maybe. But really what we're going to get into is this hand. And so since this is the highlight here, I really want, we'll go back on this hand as well, maybe just a little kiss back here. Not much, very little. But I know that this has a value here as far as overall. And I really want this finger, because this is going to be up here. I really want to make this lighter. And what that's going to do is create a light plane, a medium plane, and a darker plane. And you'll see. Now, so I'll probably lose all of the shading here and just go for the highest highlight. And you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. Got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to try to keep this to 15, if at all possible. And I'll probably kiss the top of this one here too. I'm trying to think. That looks like it's his outside arm, top of the hand there. So we'll do that. But now is where my drawing ability will come in, because I'm going to do something that you guys can do as well. But since we know it's lit from the side, I can do something like this where I pick this color here, and now I can light how the cast shadow of this thing will fall and this thing will fall. And stuff like that will start making things really pop out. I'm going to go ahead and pick that darker color, at least this medium color here, and go under the arms here, just because they're back further. And while I'm doing this, I'm paying attention that, well, the guy's got it divoted in here. I know that this needs to be a little bit further back than this. So this is really separating this from this. And then this right here has this little gap. So I'd probably go back down here, pick my darker color, and separate. What I'm thinking more about anything there is separating this out so that's its own shape. We'll do the same thing. I think the devil's in the details with coloring for me, just as with all art. So what I'll do is I'm going to go in here, pick a brighter red for the side as well. I'm going to go that bright, see if that works. Now, obviously, this is going a little bit quickly. Maybe we'll kiss this to go along with this and maybe accent the side there. I'm going to do that on his bandana too, so we know it's lit from the bottom, kind of, so we can get away with maybe kissing the edge there, maybe. Maybe this underside has a really nice light on it, you know. Maybe there's a little nick here. Let me try to swing this out of the way. You guys can see I'm just basically working on Nick's layer. I'll tell you if I switch off the layer, but I need the space right now. Maybe we'll have this back there. Okay, so then I'll also pick a darker red and go in, and you'll see the value from here to the light one is pretty intense. And what this does is it also can help form the face. Maybe the eye sockets are a little darker. Oh, too far there. Maybe it's pinched down here a little bit or something along those lines. Just a little bit, but then it can also help, like if I touch the top of this one, maybe the back of this one, maybe the back of this one. I should grab a smaller one so I'm not so messy. And like maybe right behind his head where if he's lit from the bottom, maybe there's some cast shadow falling from here. And then this will apply here too on the shell. What I'm going to do is grab this here. And this is just a little more detail work is basically what I'm saying to do here. And so we know it's lit from the side, but maybe we get a kiss here of lighting on the top of that shell, you know. And then maybe there's one back there. Maybe we'll follow it down there. Something to remember with metal is always to get white hot with it. And so with these here, with these size, what I would tell the artist to do is pick this color here and then go really heavy with a darker gray to combat it. So really push the value for extremes there. So I'm just going to draw a straight line or two. Remember, there wouldn't be a highlight down here because his hand would be down there blocking it, right? Same thing here, like when it's really close by the hand down in there. Maybe there's not one. Maybe there's not one down here. And then we go up here. Now this might look a little geometrical to you, so you could pull back a little bit if you want more of a bold cut. But the main thing there is you're creating a really nice value. And I'll show you guys. I'll cut the layers on and off in a minute, show the difference. And now the detail obviously needs to go further into everything. So for me, I would pick a color. You know, this shell has a divide more than just the line. So I would go in and pick a darker tone here. Go in here and just draw these out very quickly. Maybe I'll put these clearly has a cast shadow here. And this is a little odd because everything's lit from left to right, but this one here is from the top. So really it looks like there's two light sources. Sometimes a lot of these artists were just kind of lackadaisical and just made cool lines because the lines looked cool. So, and actually I don't even like that. I'd push this even further. At least there. So yeah, go in and cut the shell. I think the belt would have a cast shadow down here. I think this is, since this is receding from down to up, I think a lot of this maybe would be in cast shadow, just completely in cast shadow. And this is me thinking about the drawing as three-dimensional shapes more than my opinion on things, right? I have to be aware of this as one big shape as I'm working on it. So he's got a nice fade there already, but I would push it even further to really create some value and some depth going down. Obviously, we could do it here too with the belt. And let's move this over here. And maybe we get a little kiss here under the arm. Maybe since this is a band here, maybe this is the top here. Maybe there, maybe there. And we'll do a really nice job on this knee pad down here. We can get it over. It's going to be on the left side of your screen there, guys, so I can't seem to get it. Let's go down here, but so even one like this is a little flat to me, so I would take it and push it a little more. So I'd go a darker one. And the divots, let's see, we've got 4 minutes left. So darker in the divots here, maybe even darker all the way down this side to go with this, because this is going to be laying down. This, I should actually push this a little more, but so I'll just start going fast here and you can see what I'm doing. And again, I'm just thinking about the pad, how the pad's rolling from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to make it darker on the bottom, definitely darker in the divot. And then here we're going to open it up some, but then we can also do the highlight, pull that up a hair. And just when I say highlight, I really do mean 10%, like not much, just there, maybe there. Again, and we can go over here and do these. I'm going to swab the dark tone I had for the metal, and we can see if we can get these to pop out a little better. Let's pull back on that. Here too, so we have all of these highlights here up top. So that's the highlight there. I'd probably push some of this back further just because it's underside. And now I know it's lit from that side, so maybe the dark tones need to be in here somewhere. But anything that creates a little more depth, a little more solid shape would be smart. I think I'll probably add a little more down here too. These guys, this body really coming over there. And I would take it to the nail, the fingernail as well. I'd probably pull that down. And really, the more detail you do here, the better. So like thinking about how the light would hit there, there. Probably take this and push it all the way back. If this is truly in front here and not just butted up next to him, which I think it is, like this is part of his arm, so I'd probably put the highlight there in front of his faces too. Maybe you go in here and pick an extra detail out as well. There's something to be said about too many browns in this. I really like this color back here that the artist used, so I'm going to go to his layer where he has the also, like, we kind of pop this out in a really nice way right now. Actually, I'm going to pause this and start a new video because they record in 15-minute segments, and we'll get to a little background work next. All right, we're back on this again. So yeah, what I was saying here is if you think about how light we have this now, how medium this is, we don't really have this as dark as I would like, but we got it a little bit darker. Right now, I think that the background is so light. I like this pipe here where it's lit from left to right. I think the gray background, or the light background, is really competing with the Ninja Turtle. So what I would do is push the value even darker. And what I would say is maybe something along these lines here. I'm going to drag the layers back over so you can see the artist has done an incredible amount of work with all these different layers for everything. And so looks like we can find, there's a little fade there, and there's the actual wall there. There's the white, and yeah, we can talk about this too. The orange background I'm going to cut off for now. Let's see if I can grab this. Select, deselect. Yeah, so we got the wall back here. I'll try to select this whole wall. And we had this very, very dark color here selected. And I'm going to open my own layer here, call it Nick again. And let's fill this and see what happens. Well, this is probably going to be too dark, so don't freak out. So this is here. I feel like getting it away from the brown does help separate it. Like this feels to me very flat, and like the value of all of this brown feels very, since it's so light, it's competing with these highlights that we put down. And everything kind of felt safe and medium. And that's what I meant earlier when the artist was doing safe colors, which are the best colors in my opinion, but you can add a little punch. So what I would do is definitely go darker here. And all of a sudden he really pops out. And this is another reason why I would think to keep away this orange, because this orange is a very saturated color. And if you look at, oh, I don't have the page cropped, but really this was the gutter space, and there was one panel over here that was an open space. And I think that's a very graphic choice, and I don't know if I would want the orange competing. It looks very solid. It's not a bad color, but again, it kind of pushes this table closer to it, the ground's closer to it. I'd cut it off for now to do our rendering and really figure some things out. So let's go back up. We'll leave that on for now, and we can go in here. I'll go back to that Nick layer where I was just doing my own thing. Select, deselect. Go back to the original art layer. Don't click on the line art so I can click everything else. I'm going to come in here and really start pushing some other things that I was noticing. A few things are like under this arm here. And these are all like me just using the same colors that the artist chose, but just adding a little more punch to it all, you know, being a little more aggressive. You know, this arm's coming out here, so I wouldn't be afraid to really get in there and cover that up. Same way here, we have these colors here that we did earlier. This arm is coming out, so why don't we do this here and really separate it out a little bit? You know, it is the left to right there. Let's see. Yeah, so some of the pipe work here would be nice too. The artist already did it a little bit over here, and it looked really strong with that highlight. Like, that was probably the best, highest contrast I saw on the whole thing, and it looked really nice. So I would take that over here and really push it the same way. This pipe here, this will be a little bit loose, so forgive me. Be up there. Yeah, so we could probably even get that background a little bit darker as well. The last thing I would say is the table here. And we'll try to get zoomed in on it. I know it's at the bottom of the drawing, so it'll be tough. But we got this brown. I'd push this brown a little more as well. And so I'll come in here. Again, these are obviously very loose choices I'm doing here. I'm not like being exact, but this is just to give you a quick idea what I'm talking about. I'd probably go this whole underside here. Might be the side of the table, I can't really see. I would definitely throw a highlight on top. Because every little then there's this cool thing where like the turtle is like coming over. We'll erase that. The turtle is coming over the thing, so you could throw a cast shadow if you wanted to over the highlights you just put down. So his body's coming here. So maybe if he's lit from the top at all, he could be doing something like, and I'll cut it out of the background. So like there's a point where he could be casting a shadow over here. And I know he's lit from the side, and this clearly shows things are lit from the side, but he also does have this down one here. So I do think things can be lit from 2 different angles. So let's see. Let's look at this compared to what it originally looked like and see what the difference was. Select, deselect. This is just my highlight layer on and off. So we're going from here to there. So you can see this artist still had the highlights going on up here, but you can see there's just a lack of value there, and it feels very flat. And then there's mine with the darker background. Now, let me do it with, to be fair, so like you see how these almost look like flats now versus that where it's lit in a stronger way. So, and this would go over here too. You see how this is the same color, but right now, since we have this white, you know, if I select, reselect, if I was thinking about this page as a whole, because we added that extra value, that extra light, now I can do things like come in here, tighten this up, and it'll add for a, you know, select, deselect. It'll really add for that thing to pop out over the darker stuff. So let me go ahead and reset in a fair position. Well, I'll do this first. This is another thing too to remember values really well. That's about where I'm at now over the quick overdraw. So we go image, mode, grayscale. We'll go to flatten right now, discard. And so you can see this, and I'll go Shift Command 4 and I will screen cap it. Okay. Edit, step backwards. So now we'll cut my layer off. We'll cut the orange background back on, my wall off, and now if we go image mode, grayscale, we will flatten it, discard, and then Shift Command 4. And so we can kind of see what, I'll put these up next to each other too. And so you can see the work the artist did, but the thing for me is this value of this hand is kind of the same value of this whole hand. And we'll edit step backwards. I just feel like there's too many competing values, not color, but values of color, where it all comes into the same medium area, which is, like I said, really good to start. It's like a great base, but now we just got to get a little more aggressive with our choices, and we can always take a step backwards. This isn't going to be published yet, so I think it's better to really push things, really think about the outside shape of this as if it was a toy, how the light would hit it. Really think about how there's a rim light, a mid light, a low light, and maybe even a darker low light, and maybe even just a kiss of a white light on some things. And it would really start separating stuff. So again, I'll cut all my stuff back on, just on and off with the regular background. You can see the difference there, which is the little bit of highlights. And then if we take the background and actually push it on again, there, and then it really, I think, starts separating out from there. So, and then the orange is a more of an aesthetic choice. I don't mind the orange overall because it's such a rich orange, but I think overall it could ruin the graphic element that I think the artist might have been going for there. So yeah, I would start thinking about how cast shadows fall over the form, even stuff like this where, you know, if this is lit from the bottom, maybe there's a ribbon cast shadow against this thing, and you really start lighting it as if it was lit in the real world, the cast shadow of this dropping over this. And obviously you could go in
out of Southern